Welcome to week 1 of our program to go. Today we're doing fuzzy friends. You should have supplies in your bag to make 2 crafts. We're gonna make a little worry pet, and we're gonna make a slap bracelet worm. We're gonna do the worm first, but just to make sure you have everything at home, you should have scissors and a hot glue gun. We're gonna give you a hot glue stick, worm, bracelet, some little safety eyes for your worry pet, polyfill, and a square of fabric. So, first we're gonna do our little worm. This one's pretty easy, but I think the result is really adorable. Decide where you want your worm's head to be. Let's get him out of his little package. Now this is a worm on a string, so you're gonna have to cut the string off, or don't, it doesn't really matter, but you know, it's more wearable as a bracelet if you cut the string, so it's not just awkwardly hanging off. So I snipped this little string off. Now we've just got our little worm friend. So what you want to do is kind of like adjust him on the bracelet beforehand. He's about the same length as the bracelet, so just kind of get him in place. You might want to push him forward a little so his nose hangs over. I think that's kind of cute, but it's up to you. And we get glue in. First I put a little dab of glue where his head's gonna be. And push his head down onto it. Just be careful not to touch the glue, of course, while you're doing this. Now his head's stuck on there, and let's see how that looks. Just the head glued down. That might be cute. So, you could have him like this, where he hangs off, and that's kind of fun. But I think I'm gonna glue him down the whole way, so that he goes around your wrist like a little fuzzy bracelet. So, some more glue. There you go. You'll have little glue stragglers sometimes, so you can just pick them off, little strands of glue. And the bottom of the bracelet's very warm right now from the glue. So once it cools down, it'll be safely stuck on there. This is so difficult to get on my wrist sometimes. Ignore me struggling. And there you go! Little worm friend. I love these guys. So, I will be right back with you guys to make our little worry pet. And we're back! We're gonna make our little worry pets. So, you should have in your bag, you're gonna have an 8-inch square of fabric. We need to get 2 circles out of this. So the best way that I find to do it is to fold it into a triangle. But you're gonna wanna fold it whatever side you wanna be on the inside, should be on the outside here, because it's always best to mark out the circle before you cut it. So I'm gonna take a little pen. You could use a pencil, you could use a color pencil, whatever. I'm using a ballpoint pen, and just kind of sketch out the rough shape of a circle. It doesn't need to look good because no one's gonna see it. Isn't that wonderful? So you can make it as big or as small as you want. You know, my circle's about, I don't know if the camera can see it, my circle's like that big. You could also make it a different shape if you want, it doesn't matter. But I think the circle looks cute, so I'm going with a circle. Then, while it's still folded together, we can start cutting. The edges are gonna be hidden, so it's okay if it looks a little messy. But you wanna hold it like near where you're cutting so you can make sure the fabric is actually staying together so that your circles are like even. You definitely want some sharp scissors for this. And here's a little tip, whenever you're cutting fabric, this like inside part of the scissors that's closest to the handle is usually sharper than like the edges. So you want to cut it with this part, not like on the edge of your scissors, or it's going to be a little harder to cut. See that? Cuts right through. Okay, now I just have the last edge. And you see my circle is a little messed up looking, but that's okay. I'm just making a little guy. You don't gotta be perfect. So now you should have two kind of even looking circles. Now we're gonna mark out where we want the eyes to be. So kind of look at your circle and decide. You could put them in the middle, you could put them like close to the top. This guy, I put him like close to the top. On this guy, I think I'm gonna put him like in the middle of the circle. So on the back side, what I do is get my pen again and I mark two little X's where I want my eyes to be. There we go. And now I kind of fold it up because you want to cut out just the center of that X. So I kind of bunch up the fabric into a little cone basically and just give it one little snip. You don't need a very big hole for the eyes to fit in there. See, that hole's like really tiny, just fine. And if you don't want to use scissors for this part, scissors work just fine, but I'm sure some nail clippers would work well too. Just to get that one little snip. Okay, so now I have two little eye holes. It's time to put in our eyes. So these eyes we're giving you are like safety eyes for like teddy bears. They're the kind of eyes that like are so that little children can't pull eyes off their dolls and stuff. And they're really cool because they just snap into place. You don't need any glue, you don't need anything. So you're gonna put the front of the eye, the little black part, through the front. Do both of them at once. And then you take this little brown part and you want it facing up when you do this. Like you want it to be like you're completing two halves of like a sphere. So the open part should be facing down, and all I'm gonna do is press it down onto the back of the eye, and you'll hear it like snap into place as you do it, and it just clamps your eye right to the fabric. There we go. Okay, so here's the part where it's gonna start coming in together. See how cute that is with his little eyes? I love him already. He hasn't even been born yet, but I love him. So you kind of line up your circle where you want it to be, but here's the thing. You do this when you sew, you do this if you're using hot glue like I am, it doesn't matter. You're supposed to put right sides together. That means the side you want to show, you put them together like this, and then you glue or sew the seam. You could absolutely sew for this craft, but I'm using hot glue. It might come out a little stronger and nicer looking if you use, you know, a needle and thread, obviously. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put the eye side on top so that it sits flat. And I'm gonna start just gluing the edges together, because after we glue the edges together, we're gonna flip it around inside out so that we can stuff it. So just do like a line at a time. Push it together, be careful because it's hot. You don't want any, push it gently, you don't want any glue coming out through the seam and burning you. And now I'm gonna do that all the way around. Okay, so at this point, you need to be gentle with it, because hot glue doesn't like fabric very much. That's okay. You want to really make sure it's dry before you try to flip it out. And the way you know it's dry is that it's no longer warm. So just wait for it to cool. It's starting to harden up. These things aren't going to look perfect. They're not. But that's okay, because they're not perfect little round pets. They're worry pets. They're worried. You can squeeze them. You can keep them in your pocket for when you're feeling a little anxious. And he's right there with you, feeling the same things. So he does not need to be beautiful, because he is your friend. The important part is that he's there. This one is coming out pretty nice though. I think it's because I waited longer this time for the glue to dry than I did with that sample over there. So I actually have very minimal fixing to do. He barely came apart at all. Press that back together. If you see any little holes where it's coming apart, you can just pop some glue in there. Just be careful, that can be a little tricky. You don't want to burn yourself. This guy came out pretty round. So now we're gonna stuff it. But remember what I said about his edges being a little fragile. I know it's tempting to want to put a bunch of stuffing in there, but you know, you gotta be gentle with him. Because you gotta watch and make sure he doesn't start coming apart while you do this. See, just a little more. You'll definitely have more polyfill in your bag than you will need for him. So I think that looks pretty good. So now I'm gonna start gluing the rest of the seams together. What you want to try to do if you want it to look nice like the rest is kind of fold it in. It might be useful to like crimp it like you're making a dumpling or something. You can kind of fold this back end in and then fold the rest over and glue it down. And that's what I'm gonna do right now. I'm gonna do one fold at a time so it doesn't get too messy. If you're worried about burning yourself, you might want to get someone to help you with this part, because this is probably the part that has the highest chance of accidentally touching some hot glue. I'm kind of trying to blow on it to make it harden faster, because you kind of want to press it until it's done so that it doesn't just come straight apart. See, I did my first little fold. It's all tucked in. Now I think I just need a little more glue, actually. I'm almost done. He just looks precious. I love him. Look at him. Isn't he beautiful? I just love him. I know he doesn't look pretty. I know he's not neat. But I think the important thing about this craft is that when you look at him, doesn't that just make you smile? Like, I love it. So, now we've made our worry pet. I think I'm gonna name him Frank. This is Frank. I'm Devin. This is George. And there you go. That's Fuzzy Friends. Have a great day.